everyone. Mr. James O'Neill here, speaker and owner of Mastery for All. Mastery for All partners with school districts to bring mastery of mathematics through professional development, through coaching, and through consulting. I want to see everybody master mathematics, specifically our Black boys who have historically not mastered it in this space. And so one day I was literally on LinkedIn and there was this article titled, "Is Math a Racist Subject?" And I read that article and I said, I want to do a podcast on that. And so I'm bringing in my friends, people that I've met in the space, people that actually have reached out to me and say, hey, I want to speak to this subject about equity. And so I did not prompt them in their answers. They are literally speaking from their experiences, from the research as it relates to equitable instruction in mathematics. So I want you to sit tight. I want you to have an open mind, an open heart, an open spirit to listen and to hear these experts speak to this subject. Is math a racist subject? And I'm going to see you on the other side. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another podcast. I am here with Dr. Kristopher Childs. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing amazing. Excited to be on here with you today.
Yeah, I'm glad you are definitely in the building. As you all know, we're doing the series, Is Math a Racist Subject? And you know, anybody I'm bringing on the show, they are definitely people in the field that know what they're talking about and that can lift this subject and bring light to this. So as you always know, we are definitely going to go into who we are with today. And so I just want to introduce the audience to Dr. Kristopher Childs. Dr. Kristopher Childs is an educator, professor, and leadership consultant with a strong focus on teacher content and pedagogical knowledge, equity, and leadership development. As a renowned keynote speaker, he inspires audiences with his coaching skills, storytelling, and passion, encouraging individuals to pursue their dreams. Dr. Childs' student-centered approach and consultancy work empowers school and district teams to enhance student academic success. Dr. Childs is a life member of Florida Agriculture and Mechanical University National Alumni Association and a life member in Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. With a PhD in mathematics education, he is also an accomplished author in the field, contributing to the improvement of mathematics teaching practices. Can we give it up for Dr. Childs in the building today? So I'm glad you're here. So glad you're here.
I'm excited to be here. I've been watching this podcast, listening to this podcast, and I've been thinking, like, when am I going to get the honor of being on the podcast? So I'm excited to be here with you.
Well, you are definitely here today and honored to have you. And so, as I always do, everybody knows my first question is the title of this podcast series and lifting your brilliance around this question. I saw it in an article one day and I thought it'd be interesting to just get everyone's take on this topic. Is math a racist subject? In your words?
No. Simple as that. No. Let's start off top. Math is not a racist subject. Now, can we get into mathematics instruction? And that's how we teach mathematics. Does that embody some things that align to white supremacy culture? Yes. But math is not a racist subject. But how we teach it, it can align to things that are not good for all learners.
Okay, so let's dive into that. So emphatically, no, math is not racist. How we present it, how we instruct it, can lend itself to, like you said, white supremacy culture. What are some ways that we teach math or present math that kind of leans that way?
So this whole concept of you and I, we were taught, you got to learn the formula, you got to memorize it, you got to get an answer. Mathematics was never invented to just get answers or to just be relegated to the textbook. Mathematics was invented by different cultures from around the world to showcase and make sense of the world. That is why mathematics was conceptualized. It is a problem-solving language, a problem-solving experience. It's not just, can you get an answer? It's not just, I do, we do, you do. You just follow what the teacher does. It's not a teacher-centered approach. It is an approach to understanding the world in which we live and to use it through a problem-solving lens. Oftentimes, we're caught up in this Westernized society where it's very individualistic. It's very, let's just get an answer and move on. and not understanding through other cultures, especially through that collectivist lens, is how do we work together? How do we collaborate? How do we make sense of the world? And then how do we use mathematics as a tool to solve different problems that we're presented within the world?
I love what you are saying. First of all, how you bring in the fact that it was intended to explain or to make sense of the world from other cultures, right? And you lifted up something that I just want to make sure the audience understand through a collectivist lens, and how you say we in this Western culture, we're about individualism and what can I get? Let's get to the problem, solve it myself. What is this collectivist lens that we need to lean into as it relates to mathematics?
So most cultures, and I say most cultures, they work together. Most cultures collaborate. Most cultures believe in family.
Yeah.
Most cultures understand it takes a village. Most cultures in this Westernized society, and let's focus, we're here in the United States recording this, is very individualistic. You work on your own, pull yourself by your own bootstraps. When majority of cultures around the world do not believe in that. They believe in truly equity. We'll probably talk about this a little bit later. And in true equity, everyone getting what they need, everyone to work together. That's what a collectivist culture is. And a lot of folks from around the world live within that collectivist culture. I identify as I have a Black identity. So my roots are in Africa. With my roots being in Africa, there's a collectivist society working together to get what you need.
Got you. So,
and there are other cultures. I'm just limited to the culture I am from. My ethnicity and race. We'll get into that too. That was different constructs, but that's why I look at it through that lens. And there are others, but again, I can't speak for everyone else's culture. I can just go what I see and what I've learned.
Yeah, thank you for explaining that, because I want people to know the power of that and how it even relates into the classroom when when we talk about students working together, and how, I don't know about you, but I remember growing up in the classroom, we didn't do a lot of collaboration. It was you sat in that desk, we were in rows, and it was sit and get. And if I could mimic what the teacher did, I was a great math student. If I can't keep up with that, then oh well, you got left behind. And so I see how that relates and translates to the classroom. But more instance, I want to push more into this collectivist mentality and approach. How does the individualism in what we see in our society lends to more racist practices or exclusion of others?
So here's an example. And I love how you talked about in your class, you were more so, I do, we do, you do. You focus on what the teacher was doing.
Right.
So when it's an individualistic lens, you're really creating just robots. If I got to focus on what you were doing, you're saying you're the knowledge bearer, you have all the answers, and I have to assimilate to who you are. Now, if you have some mythical powers and you can do everything, that's great, because you can tell me everything I need to know. But if you don't, what I'm doing is I'm limiting myself in who I can be and who I can become through just focusing on you. Now, how does that tie into racism, especially racism here in the United States? Is when you're mimicking the dominant group in the US. I say the dominant group in the US, we'll talk about that a little bit later, what that means. You're going to embody some of those principles and things that have been done. If we look at the history of this country, a lot of things that have been done have been detrimental to others within this country that do not belong to that group. So if we're mimicking those things, we're just continuing the cycle. And that's how we continue to perpetuate racism in this country. We continue to perpetuate all the isms in this country through that individualistic lens, trying to subscribe to this one perfect or this one person, as opposed to, I look at this piece of two ways we can look at it. You can make a smoothie or you can make a salad in your environment. What I mean, when you make a smoothie, you put everything together, you blend it up, and you come out with one thing. Right. So you take all these great ingredients, you mix them together, you don't know what is what. But when you make a salad, you take all the ingredients, you mix them together to give it flavor, to give it texture, to give it taste. And then you still, at the end, after you mix it together,
this is good,
all the ingredients are still in there. That's more of a collectivist lens, because we know working together through that salad, working together through that collectivist lens, it's going to give us something that's palatable. As opposed to the smoothie is good, it's going to quench your thirst, but you're just meshing everything together. America has always been looked at as a smoothie. The old one is this big melting pot where you put everything together.
Yep.
America really needs to become a salad because we have people from all around the world that have come here, unless you're from an indigenous population. Thus, if all of us have come here and all of us are valued, why are we trying to meld it together or blend it together? Why aren't we looking at it as a salad with every ingredient matter? Every ingredient gives a flavor and a taste to make something great.
I love, 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 love. I was taking down some notes, and while you were just talking, even about the archetype or the person, if we're mimicking, we become robots. It just reminded me of why growing up as a Black boy, again, I can only talk from the lens and the community that I grew up in. I remember as I tried to do well in school that I was told at that time that I was being white, and how whiteness was ascribed to this whole idea of success in academics. And when you started talking about that, it was just like, well, it's because who were always our teachers? Where do we lack? We didn't see people. I didn't see people like me, specifically Black males in this space, leading in an academic way. And so if they're the people that are always leading you are either white men or white women, then, and that race of people, then if you are successful, then you're matriculating to that archetype. And so I just made a connection with just even my story with you explaining that. And so I want to dive into this next thing as Black men in the space of mathematics. You know, what has been your success or experience in making sure that all people, all races master mathematics?
It first starts with one, developing relationships with people. I don't know everything. I don't know everybody. I've had experience with a lot of people, but I don't know everybody, every culture. And as a classroom teacher, my first thing was making relationships. You're going to hear me say the term children on here. I tried to use the word students. It's very formal. They're all children to me. But it first started with making relationships, really getting to know them. And then as I was able to form relationships, I'm a studier. This is a real background. These are real books. I then want to learn more, not only through the individual child or their family. I love to connect with families about the culture. I also want to read books about the culture. Why? As a mathematician, my belief was everyone contributed to it. So it led me to different books to read. The Crest of a Peacock is a great book of how every culture contributed. Why is that important? Then I can bring in all the cultures, different ways that they contributed, learn from them, they learn from me. And we create this smorgasbord within the classroom environment so everyone can see themselves a part of the math. But then in turn, I tried never to focus on just formulas and get an answer, but how can you use this math to make sense? How can this be used to help your family? How can math be used to help your community, which brought in these different cultures and a different understanding and different relationship building, as opposed to just getting the answer? Why? A lot of folks focus in their classroom, Chris, they got to learn the formula. They got to get an answer. But what if they're getting the answer to the wrong problem? And repeat that. What if you're giving them problems? They're getting the right answer, but it's the wrong problem to begin with. If we're trying to prepare them, we always say we're preparing children for the future. We're really preparing them in most classrooms for the past when we just have these set formulaic pieces. If I'm preparing them for the future, I need to give them different scenarios to think through, to really encompass their minds. And then I'm going to go a little bit, spiritual on this piece. They can tap into their ancestors and what they brought to the table, and then spit that out. All right, let me not get too deep. Let me pause, man. This is your podcast. Let me pause. I don't know where we want to go with this thing.
Man, I'm getting the nuggets and I'm writing down the nuggets. So, like, even in basically what you're just saying, like for you, what you've seen is relationship and relevance can be used to close the gap on everybody seeing themselves. First of all, in the curriculum, you see yourself. It feels like it's relevant to you. You have a relationship, you build a relationship with your kids, and that begins to close the gap to making math relevant, which also begins to say, hey, I can master this because I want to master it. It relates to my life. And then the person that's working with me, people forget the power of relationships. And I love the fact that you bring that in. And I want to dive more into that because as I grew up, again, through my lens, I did not see a lot of Black boys successful in mathematics. As I said before, when I became successful in just academics in general, my friends was like, man, you over there trying to be white, blah, 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 blah. Why do you believe academically, experiential, like in your own experiences or whatever, that Black boys have struggled as it relates to proficiency in mathematics?
They don't struggle as it relates to proficiency. They're struggling how the information is presented to them. I'll tell
Okay.
you two examples. You ever gave a Black boy an iPad?
Yeah.
You ever gave a Black boy an iPad and then a textbook to read on how to use the iPad? You just gave them an iPad.
Give them an iPad.
Did they figure out the iPad?
Yep.
Did they probably do some things you never thought with the
iPad? Yes, sir.
So it probably shows you that Black boy had genius level potential, but you gave him an opportunity to showcase it, right? We oftentimes want to relegate Black boys to this textbook or to this thing and put them in this box. But when you really look at the ancestral blood that's coming through our Black boys, the ancestral blood that their forefathers and foremothers that have, and I'm not talking about slavery. Let's go there real quick. This is pre-slavery. So if you want to study history about Black people, if you're talking about if everything starts at slavery, it looks like progress. I'm talking about those Mansa Musas. Have you introduced them to Mansa Musa, who was one of the richest men to ever live, gave so much gold away as he traveled? He used to disrupt economies. Are you talking about Imhotep, the world's first multi-genius? That's the blood that's running through these Black boys. So the problem is, it's not the Black boys, it's the system that they've been put into where you want any boys, not even just Black boys, all boys to sit still all day long.
Right.
They have energy, but you want them to sit at a desk all day long and tell them they can't learn. But in the same token, they demonstrate in so many other ways how they have this genius level potential. Why? Because you let them be free. The same thing needs to happen in the classrooms. The reason they're not quote unquote proficient is the box that you're putting them in. If I took a fish and put a fish on this desk in front of me and said, swim, is it going to swim? No, it's not that environment. If I took an elephant, threw it in the water and say, go swim, it may or may not, but it's not that environment.
Yeah.
So what we've crafted is a school environment that takes these amazing brilliance and confines it and wonder, why don't little Jimmy do good on the test? Why can't they just sit still and do the things? That's not who they were meant to be. So what we have to do into every educator listening, are you unlocking the power? Are you giving boys opportunities? Let's say take a computer apart and not all the individual pieces, y'all, like the big plug and play.
Right.
Put this computer together, see what they come up with. Are you giving them an opportunity to say, hey, I need to build a bookcase. You only get 5 pieces of wood. How can you build it? Are you giving them that opportunity? Are you so relegated and thinking they can only do math if it's in a textbook? I have a PhD in mathematics. I do a lot of amazing things in mathematics. No one ever asked me about Pythagorean theorem, which was actually stolen in Africa. I'll go there later. No one ever asked me about that. No one ever asked me when I'm adding 2 fractions, what do I do first? What they do is provide me with problem-solving scenarios. Are you doing that in your classroom structure? Are you giving the children a scenario? Hey, you have $10, 50% you need to save. How much do you have left? Or are you saying 10 times 0.50 is blank? What are you doing to unlock that genius? Or are you so focused on them assimilating to who you are, how you learn it, how society, quote unquote, wants them to learn it, opposed to giving it an opportunity to showcase that genius level potential within them?
Sir, you are talking good to me. Listen, so I can hear someone saying, well, how do I do that with all the testing culture that we're in and the fact that, I don't know how to teach mathematics like that. It was never shown to me. What would you say to that teacher that feels that way, that leader that feels that way?
Wait, you said someone is going to say, I wasn't taught that way. You can learn. Yeah. Just as we want these children to learn new things, what are we doing to learn and get better? What are you doing to go the extra mile to really be good at what you do? Or are you so focused on what happened yesterday? There's a lot of things I don't know how to do, but guess what? I figured it out. I'm going to learn. I'm going to ask questions. And with technology nowadays, I got the fingertips at my hand of technology. The second thing, what are you doing to authentically learn about Black boys? Are you watching the news and getting that false narrative that Black boys can't do this, Black men are not around? Or are you actually going into communities and learning about it? Are you actually asking that child who they are or who they want to be and believing them? Are you talking to their families? Just Black folks do have families. Are you engaging with them and find out their likes and then naturally working to incorporate it? And guess what? When you don't know how to do something, go ask somebody. All of us have been at that copy machine at some point and it got jammed or we didn't know how, what we do, ask a question. So you telling me when a child is in my classroom and they're struggling to build something, I'm not saying to do a worksheet, build something. I'm not going to ask my colleagues a question. I'm not going to figure it out, because if I can figure it out for this group, I can figure it out for that group also.
Man, listen. Woo, come on, Dr. Childs. Yes, sir. I think
I'm just warming up.
Listen, you. If this is the warm, I don't want another fire. If this is the warm, as I'm listening to you, it is when we get into this system where we continually see the same results, and I call us disruptors in this space, because it's like it takes someone to say, no, I've seen it happen, and it can happen. It happens with intentionality and the work. Like, I want to solve this problem. I want to get the copy machine working. So what am I going to do? I'm going to either open it up, try to figure out what's going on, or ask someone necessarily how did they fix it, or because it has to work, right? I need it in my daily life as a teacher. And so when I hear you talk so passionately about like solving the problem, and actually going and investigating, why do you think we don't investigate? Like, why do you think we just don't go like what you're saying? Because it sounds like it's easier. When I hear you saying, it's just like, that's what we got to do. What is the holdup? What's stopping us from doing that?
So two things. One, let's be honest, most of us don't care. It doesn't affect us. That little kid's not learning. Why does it matter to me?
They heard it from you. Like
you didn't say it. I said it.
Yes, sir.
The data, in the words of the great Jay-Z, men lie, women lie, numbers don't. The data showed me we don't care. Because if we care, the data would be different. And then the second thing I got
to stop. I got to stop you, Dr. Childs, because you just, if we cared, the data would be different. Like when I look at successful teachers, not necessarily that are successful, because many times you can get I got this in my life. You're the Black man, so of course they listen to you. You're the Black man, of course they're going to respond to you, specifically our Black boys or our Black students. And I was just like, no, a white woman is the reason why I got here, because I saw that she cared. Like, right. She actually reached out for me. And looking at the demographics in teaching, 70% upper are white females. And so it's not necessarily, we want representation, but what I hear you saying that just hit my nerve, like, we want people to care and believe that the problem can be solved. So I just wanted to.
And then the second thing we got to do, add with a sense of urgency.
Yeah.
We act like we got time. Everybody listening to this podcast, everybody watching this podcast, including me and you, we're going to die one day.
Right.
And are you going to get in that last breath and look around and say, woulda, coulda, shoulda? Or did I go all in? Oftentimes as educators, we look around, I got time. Time waits for no one. Nothing is better than the present if we care about these children. Again, I keep saying if, because if we care, we'll be acting different. If we care, we'll be pushing hard. If we care, we'll eliminate batteries. Earlier, you talked about the testing. If we care, we wouldn't keep getting in positions of leadership and keep making excuses for these tests. If we care. And I don't want to hear what the politicians are doing. I don't want to hear about your administrators are doing. When you look in that mirror, what you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? All the other stuff you can't control. What are you doing? For example, I go hard in the paint, as the young folks say. If I'm pushing in on Black boys and how to help them, and I go teach a group of Black boys and I go do the same thing, I'm the problem. Because the standards are the standards. Boom, I can teach it how I want. So if I say I don't have cultural representation in the rural problem, and I give them one without cultural representation, that's on me. That's not on them. That's not on the system. So what are you doing for what you can control? So don't get in here, oh, what about the politics and the policies? No, what are you doing?
Yeah, that classroom is yours. At the end of the day, that I tell teachers all the time, like, I get it, as I just stepped away from the classroom just 4 months ago, just went full time into consulting and speaking in this space where I've been half-time dating for a while. And as I get in front of teachers, and just like, you are the most powerful person in the room. Research is clear as far as what does it take for learning. Your mindset, what you bring to that culture, what you bring to that environment, how you prepare, who you talk to, like how you respond, and all those things. It takes work. Like you said. And so as I'm hearing you talk, and you've already hit so many other nuggets, but I just wanted to just fine tune this question even more. Like, what advice, as you lead and present, what do you tell teachers? What do you tell facilitators? What do you tell leaders in the space of math education, so that we can get the ball running in the right direction?
First thing, you gotta know your stuff. Now, a lot of folks I meet doing some cool stuff, like, and literally when I say cool, just the fun stuff, they don't understand the math. You gotta know the math. Like, that's a non-negotiable. You gotta have pedagogical knowledge and content knowledge. And then the second thing, you gotta be innovative and go for broke. Again, too many of us talking pre-service teacher programs and I'm going to do all these great things. I go in the classroom, they're doing the same thing everybody else did.
Yeah. We're
in a state of emergency. What are you really going to do that's radically different? Or are you literally doing the same thing with a different book, like the same book with a different cover? Like I've seen that story before. Are you going to be the one that does something radically different that actually helps those children? Or are you going to be the one that does the same exact thing and make the same exact excuses? Year after year, the same mess, and then blame the children and blame the system. My thing is going into, depending upon when we listen to this podcast, we're in 2023, for folks, as you make a New Year's resolution, what you doing in 2024? Radically different. Because guess what? You do the same thing, you get the same results. And we see it's not working for all children. But if you care about all children, you'll be doing something radically different. And you'll focus in on those populations. It's kind of like this. I don't know if you've ever been somewhere and see a wheelchair ramp, like a ramp to go up.
Yeah.
One thing about that wheelchair ramp, what I love, you can be in a wheelchair and use it. You don't have to be in a wheelchair and use it. But if I design that, everybody can go up it. We around here building better stairs. We're not trying to build better wheelchair ramps. Oh, that was the word. We trying to build better stairs and beautify the staircase, knowing everybody can't go up, but it's going to make us look good. We can feel good because I know how to build those stairs. Why can't I just build a ramp?
Yeah. Mic drop, mic drop, mic drop, mic drop, mic drop. Your perspective is, I'm trying to find the word, but it is invigorating. It is enlightening, and it's fiery. How did you get here? What either something pivotal or the process of seeing all kids approaching this work with the passion, not only the passion, but the pedagogical instruction, the heart. How did you get to where you are right now with your mindset?
So there's a couple of things. First, and this is humble, arrogant, all in one. My goal is to be the best at what I do. And this is anything like I really want to put my mind to, I can do it. So first, I got to get the knowledge first. So I was real quiet early on in my career because why? My mentor told me, be like a sponge, just soak up knowledge and get good. Too many people are dry sponges trying to do the work. I had to get wet with some knowledge and really soak the game up. And then the second piece, I started to look around. I used to make a lot of statements, especially when I was first starting. Why is this person not doing this? Why is this person not doing this? Then as I started to see and get in these rooms, I started saying, why am I arguing with people when I can build a thing myself?
Yeah.
I don't need to beg to be at a table. I don't need to beg for you to change your table. I can build my own. And a lot of times we are worried about all the tools of somebody else that may or may not. Build your own table. Collaborate with people that's about the business of doing right by children. That's all I got to do. As opposed to worried about what everybody else is doing. Like I challenge my team that I work with now, and I got a dope team around me. And I'm like, I ain't trying to hear, my Southern came out. I am not trying to hear all the things we can't do.
All good, brother. I'm in Charlotte. No,
I am going to focus on the things that we can do. We're going to build our own table. What am I asking and begging for in 2023? I'm going to build my own. The curriculum doesn't have it. Build my own. Mm-hmm. I need to get better professional learning. I know amazing people like yourself and some other people. We can build our own. If we care, but a lot of folks really don't care. We're just trying to get this good check, trying to get these good benefits, going to the sunset, make a nice set of steps, paint them, make them pretty, put our name on it. These are our steps. And knowing these children don't have what they need, not what they need to pass a test. Do they have the life skills they need to survive and to contribute to their community? Forget the country. What are we doing in these communities?
Man, I love that. So one thing I do hear you say that's contributing to your mindset is mentorship. Like your mentor told you, soak it up, get everything that you can get. Is there something in the way, what he said, how he or she led you that really challenged you, was a pivotal point in your career?
So I'm glad you say he or she, because I've had a lot of mentors from different gender identities. I want anybody to get there quickly say, why you just shot me out?
Yeah.
Everybody. But it was mainly just, I'm really big on the universe, putting people in your life when you need them.
Yeah.
So when I say my mentor, it's not a specific person. It's a conglomerate of everybody. And me just being willing to soak up the game. Some things I liked that they said, some things I didn't like. And then some things they said probably too early in my career, but I just held on to them. But at the end of the day, all of them was like, they know me. I'm going to be Chris. I'm going to be unapologetic. I'm going to be bold. And then they all taught me, what do you got to lose? I got one shot at this thing called life. That dash that's going to be on everybody's tombstone, I got one shot at making this dash. I don't get to make another dash. So what am I? All of them essentially instilled in me, what you going to do? You talk this talk. You seen what I'm doing, and my mentors have done some amazing things. What you going to do? I got mine. What you going to do?
Yeah, I'm being inspired, brother. It is it's good to hear that, because one thing I do know, and as you already spoken to, this individualistic mentality, that you can be in a building and still be an individual trying to do whatever, never talking to the teachers around you. Right. We need mentors in this space as well. And the power of having someone who has been there, done it, like, why is this not a thing? And like you always said today, do we really care? Do we really want to get better? I've been in buildings with strategic plans and just like, we just writing these plans because they're documents that we have to have by law or by the state or by district, but we're not following anything. We're not trying to really move anything. We're just doing things in the whole cycle that we've been doing for a very long time. But mentorship, having someone there that has done it and doesn't have an excuse as to why that child or these kids can't be successful, is pivotal, because it gives you a decision. Am I going to lean into that belief, or I'm going to believe what I've been believing the entire time?
But then also thinking a step further, what are we doing to help others?
Yeah.
Too often we get hung up on, I got mine, the mentor is giving me the game, and we leave it. I spend more time, and a lot of team around me, they get mad. I spend so much time just trying to help others, and I never publicly say I'm helping this person. They're like, why you keep helping so many people? I'm like, at the end of the day, I truly believe like we got to give back. We got to pour into others. It's bigger than just me. Like, I can do a lot of things by myself. I could probably be 10 times further ahead, but I'm always thinking like, it ain't about me. It's about these children. It's about my community. It's about my people. And I want more of us not only worry about mentorship, but even if it's a little thing nugget to give back, like, it's bigger than us, what we're trying to do and what we're trying to solve. And through a collectivist working together, like, I actually believe we could do this.
Wow. Your beliefs lead to your action. My last question, I mean, this has been good so far. I can literally talk to you all day, Dr. Childs. I feel like I've gotten it based upon the way you move, based upon what you said and what you have said. But what is your personal mission as it relates to the advancement of mathematics for all students?
To develop a culture of problem solvers and not just a bunch of rule followers. I love how you said all children, not some children. Am I going to ride or die for my black boys and my black girls? Heck yeah, I got 2 black girls. But at the end of the day, I want all children to be successful. I want all children to learn mathematics, see the beauty of it, and to see how it can literally change your life once you access the mathematics and what it brings to the table.
I love that. It changed my life. A teacher saw me one day sitting in a classroom, achieving at a certain level. I wasn't labeled gifted or anything like that. Invited me to Algebra 1 in 8th grade and totally gave me access. And by that access, totally changed the trajectory of my life. And I know the power that we as individuals in this space hold, the decisions we make about people's lives on a daily. And I love the decision you have made concerning making sure that all kids become problem solvers in our society. Everybody, in the words of Dr. Childs, is math a racist subject, sir?
No, man, y'all don't try to clip this and no. N-O.
No.
N-O. However you want to do it. N-O. N-O.
No, but we have to work on the way we present this subject, instructional practices, and who we see as mathematicians. All our kids have the ability to be successful. Y'all, this is episode 9 of Is Math a Racist Subject? Dr. Childs, I appreciate your brilliance. Everybody go have an impactful day and rewatch this, because the fire that he gave us today, it needs to be rekindled in all of us. Thank you all. Have a good one. Listen, I hope you got everything you needed from this episode. If you did, please like, share, subscribe, do what you got to do to get this message out. As we talk about getting the message out, I would love to extend the offer to work with you and your teachers, whether it be a speaker, whether it be professional development, consulting, or even coaching. I am about that mastery for all life. So I want to extend that offer to you. My information is on the screen. But above all else, I'm super excited that you had space enough to welcome me into wherever you're listening to me at, all right? So I'm super excited that you decided to join me. Today. Have an amazing day.